I want to take you back to the moment when a harmless jab, a harmless teasing, ignited a fire of retribution that ultimately lit my world and showed me just how empowering a little pettiness can be. My name is Jane, and I am 35 years old with almond-shaped green eyes that tend to sparkle mischievously whenever I recount this tale. I have long auburn hair and an olive complexion that reflects a warmth I carry in my heart. I am married into a family that blends the mundane with the marvelous, filled with quirks and layers of history, and, as family always does, the stories we share at every gathering often reveal who we are and where we belong. Life was pretty good, filled with family gatherings that could stretch into the early hours, laughter that echoed off the walls, and a deserved dose of humility we wore like a badge of honor. But, and there is always a but, there was John. John the architect, my husband's aunt's husband, a looming figure in our family gatherings who harbored a penchant for delivering snide remarks with a silver spoon glinting in his mouth. He had this air of superiority, a decidedly grandiose demeanor that wrapped around him like a cloak. I remember clearly the time when my partner, who I will call Michael, decided to pursue further education and enrolled in a university that John derisively quipped about, referring to it as a trade school until very recently. Despite the laughter shared and the camaraderie found in family, John seemed determined to make his point that not everyone went to prestigious institutions or earned the degrees that truly matter. Years went by with exchanges between him and me, what he proclaimed as friendly bants, but often turned sharp and bitter, with jabs aimed my way regarding my profession in the National Health Service. Whenever he seemed to have a jab ready, my pulse quickened, and then there came the sweet, oh-so-sweet moment when I realized I could heat up our ongoing rivalry. You see, it was not just that he had taken it too far. It was about me possessing this fire that allowed me to rise above the petty battles in an even larger arena. Eventually, the tables began to turn. Time has a way of picking up the pieces and displaying them for everyone to see in the grand scheme of things. When our family came together for parties, I would ask after his children, their impressive schools, and their ever-enviable career paths. As we settled into those gatherings, the talk always spiraled into who accomplished what now, particularly feeling the need to insert my partner's achievements into the air when I met John's gaze, those smug lips tightly pursed against the winds of my humility. Fast forward 20 years, and guess what? Michael not only holds a degree that painted a bright path in a competitive world, he has taken it to heart and is earning respect, admiration, and success at the NHS. I remember walking through the aisles of a family event, glancing over to where John sat, gripping a glass of wine, as I casually mentioned Michael's latest accolades to the eager crowd. The smirk on John's face faltered, a shift bringing a delightful glow of satisfaction within me. With each mention of Michael's accomplishments, John's once grandiose demeanor wilted like a flower without sun. While he boasted of his children's degrees, I learned to convey just enough of Michael's value, ensuring that John felt each mark of victory in the form of emphatic silence. With every brag, every soft yet pointed comment I left dangling, I built that self-esteem I needed even as decades slipped away. What a thrill it was to know how every effort I made to make this jest and showcases succeed bore the fruits of laughter threaded with true understanding. I still remember sitting across John at my brother-in-law's birthday, sharing a pleasant evening as I leaned in serenely. "How are your children doing, by the way?" I laid the groundwork while internally savoring the hunt. "I hear they are doing quite well in their glass towers." Just a hint of irony shaped my tone. John, momentarily unprepared, flickered a glance in my direction, his children's names spilling forth all polished and slick, while I quickly replied, "You know, Michael just got an award from the NHS for his efforts in improving community health engagements. It is remarkable, isn't it?" And oh, how it glistened in the atmosphere, that split-second silence that swept over the table like a fleeting shadow, his expression clipped, and the air heavy with sweetly dolled-out embarrassment. Michael had managed to outclass every petty remark hurled our way. A lovely sense of irony accompanied me in the days to come, as family gatherings awaited every bit of wisdom twisted into mockery. I needed to push the boundaries of John's supposed superiority through our shared stories, so I laid the seeds down to continue rising above, ensuring he felt the brunt of every advancement Michael achieved. Conversations danced around our progress, and every conversation was like a new episode in a series of triumphs, leaving John floundering, warring against an invisible wind that threatened to knock control right from his grasp. I thrived upon that notion, knowing I could ignite flames of jubilation around Michael's hard work, especially when he would come home, exhausted from the weight of responsibility and pressure, to me, his most loyal defender. The more I witnessed Michael thrive, the more I enjoyed summoning up that spark of revenge against John's initial mockery. The universe had a funny way of guiding matters, for I realized the most petty thrills I could relish were never about simply hurling decibels and flames, but rather showing the results with elegance. Grace forged into logic, shining through the guise of friendliness while his hopes crumbled bit by bit at the looming facade I developed over time. Interestingly, pride took root in Michael, just as humility burgeoned within me. One night, while we gathered with family to celebrate the beginning of summer, it came to me while I retold the events of the year that Michael experienced, how he had led a community engagement initiative which reached over 1,000 children and provided vital healthcare education. There I sat, enveloped by laughter and joy, while I casually yet intentionally reminded everyone, I know the kids' achievements are so noteworthy, but remember when Michael implemented that new program at work. The recognition he received seemed to alter the landscape somehow, did it not? Looking over, I observed John stammering, momentarily catching his composure as I traced his unease, delving into his reactions like delicate whispers swirling into a gathering storm. As months waded through seasons, every family event became my stage, and the narrative shifted dramatically in my favor. I was on a roller coaster of amusement, prodding at John's unwillingness to accept defeat graciously, digging at that unyielding, spoiled pride. We are seldom aware of how defeat breeds an irresistible thirst for accomplishment, and what I had initially considered a simple ploy of vindication morphed into this commendable saga of strategy. The more John's blueprints of superiority wilted, the more aggressive his comments turned, and that, sweet listeners, allowed me the opportunity to thrive in unexpected ways as I manipulated flagrant flaunts into benign responses. "Oh, John," I would always chuckle lightly. "It is only a degree, dear, and surely not worth comparing over dining tables." But every retort perhaps carried with it a sense of bitterness that only I could understand beneath the succeeding layers. Eventually, John rattled with something much deeper than simple teenage taunts. There was hurt and frustration nestled behind his silver spoons and proud remarks that perhaps he wasn't as established as he had alluded to portraying. I found out through family whispers that the lavish lifestyle he had displayed was hanging by a thread, and his children's lives had been shadows of their father's ambitions. While I painted the full portrait of achievements in Michael's world, John's reality morphed into a nightmare. Suddenly, the childhood faced by his children only flickered of honor in how their father had oversold it. At last, I found a realization anchoring hard in my heart. With each triumph Michael bore, I understood the point of nurturing and cultivating kindness and showing concern beyond our scope of widening flames, that simply standing tall made waves beyond ourselves. As my heart softened and my perspective shifted, I realized that my true revenge came not simply weighing down the scale, but freeing myself entirely in the bond Michael and I created. Somewhere along that treacherous edge of silent confrontations, John's witticisms no longer defined my existence. The drive to prove pride had bent into a nurturing essence built of love instead. And that, dear listeners, is where I discovered the poetry of it all. The bitter defeats life hands us can blossom into something beautiful. In navigating the legacy of revenge I unknowingly embarked upon, I reclaimed my journey, nurturing the ground of harmony and lifting into the peaks of triumph, a reinvention sculpted by pride and self-worth. However, I started pondering my revenge games softly into mutual acknowledgement, considering John's plights as they ultimately belonged to him and not my so-called playful antics. I am grateful, truly, for the opportunities he inadvertently gifted me, the artistry and pettiness that entwined flawlessly through my story, transforming my life entirely into a cheesy tale with unexpected lessons. Inspired, wiser in my own narrative, and intertwined with love, I made an everlasting decision that my narrative would bloom into something lovely, triumph over discord. So, as I stand here, having conquered time and again John's disparaging myths while nurturing my partner's victories, I know that the true weight lies not in the revenge itself, but how beautifully we can grow through manipulation of petty victories. My ultimate victory was crafting balance not only between humiliation and forgiveness with grace, but cherishing the memories forever shared that tied back to my journey not in spite, but with love. What does your petty little triumph entail? Would you ever lash back at family dynamics or embrace warmth in cultivating new layers instead? Share your thoughts, my dear listeners. What was your favorite part of this story? Want to explore more captivating tales like these? Subscribe to our channel and hit that bell icon to immerse yourself in the endless layers of reflection, laughter, and journey through our shared experiences.